Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Network Africa. Now, here's something you hardly ever see when the UN Secretary General takes to the podium. Mr. Ban Ki-moon has delivered an unusually sharp reprimand to Morocco. In his statement, he explained that he was both angry and disappointed about the mass protests in Rabat over remarks that he made about the disputed territory of Western Sahara. That statement further explained that the rally on Sunday showed disrespect to not only him, but to the United Nations. Mr. Ban has used the word occupation to describe the situation in Western Sahara, which Morocco annexed in 1975. He has also been renewing a diplomatic drive to hold a referendum on its status. Let's head to Uganda now, where fighting still lingers in the west of the country between supporters and rival candidates involved in last month's national and local elections. And it's resulted in the killing of at least 22 people. Police have also confirmed that about 10 people have sustained various degrees of injury. About 149 houses have been burned down in recent days. Now, the basis for the fighting is likely the accusation made by the opposition party for democratic change, which accuses the government of stoking violence in the area, where opposition candidate Kizza Besigye had a strong showing against President Yoweri Museveni. Joshua Poro is a journalist in Uganda's capital, Kampala. He joins us now for more on this story. Joshua, thank you for joining us on Network Africa.
Sure, you're welcome.
Have the clashes died down, or are they still ongoing? Joshua, I know the line is a bit fuzzy, but have the clashes died down now in Uganda over the political protests?
Well, in some parts of the country, the tension has eventually bowed down, but we are having a huge trend of killings in the western part of the country. Within this week alone, 4 members of the public, unarmed civilians, have been shot dead by members of the Uganda police force. Now, these people were alleged to have been demonstrating, and
we do seem to have lost Joshua. We'll try to reconnect with him and have more on that story. But moving on, we're in Egypt now, where rice is abundant in many parts of the world, but at the moment it might not be so in Egypt. And that's because despite rice being widely grown in the country and farmers producing surplus, there could be a shortage in the staple food as a result of a government decision not to store a surplus and traders increasing prices of the food.
Rice is a staple food in Egypt, found on most dinner tables in the North African state. But despite its abundance, there are increasing concerns that there's little available for those who need it the most. The price the government pays for rice has surged by about 50% in the past 2 months because traders are holding back supplies and expect prices to rise further following the government's failure to replenish its stockpiles. That failure has left it at the mercy of traders who are unwilling to sell when prices are rising daily. According to Mustafa Al-Nagari, head of the Rice Committee of Egypt's Agricultural Expert Council, that failure has left it at the mercy of traders who are unwilling to sell when prices are rising daily. With an eye to the overall rice surplus, the government has allowed exports to resume, but its failure to accumulate its own stocks has encouraged traders to hold back supplies in the expectation of rising prices while discouraging exports. The government has tried to strike back, imposing penalties on suppliers it finds are hoarding. Walali has been visited by government officials, whom he said are trying to push him and other suppliers to sell their rice.
المباحث جت هنا لأنها المفروض تهاجم التجار، لكن هي بتهاجم.
We have a permanent license. We have an industrial record. We have a permit from the Industrial Development Authority, but it's easier for them to attack the mills. the known meals.
Growing shortages and rising prices carry immense political risk for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as tens of millions of the country's poorest rely on state subsidies for their basic food. Economic discontent helped stoke public unrest, instrumental in unseating 2 presidents in the last 5 years.
Malawi has joined a list of nations taking a stance against poaching. Authorities in the country burned 2.6 tons of smuggled ivory confiscated in the northern town of Muzuzu near Tanzania in what was seen as a symbolic gesture in its fight against poaching. Meanwhile, conservationists maintain that China's growing appetite for contraband ivory products, which are turned into jewels and ornaments, have fueled a surge in poaching in Africa. Malawian wildlife authorities have confirmed that the country's elephant population has halved from 4,000 in the 1980s to a much lower figure right now. The country still does have an additional 4 tons of ivory that it says it plans to burn in the future. Well, let's stay with agriculture for a bit. Here in Nigeria, the Agatu community in Benue State are still in pains as they reflect on the killings perpetrated by Hausa Fulani herdsmen who attacked them and destroyed hundreds of their homes and property. The Agatu community recently marched at the government house in frustration, asking the governor to intervene by providing more security for people and local farmers who fear that the herdsmen may return again. The government has promised to take their complaints to the president.
Attacks on Agatu and other communities in Benue State by the herdsmen has continued to take its toll on the people of the state. Besides the massacre of hundreds of persons, there's been humanitarian crisis at the IDP camps. This situation is why these men, women and their children have taken to the streets of Makurdi. The protesters also marched to the government house to make their grievance known.
We are saying that the president has the capacity to defeat cattle rustling. He has the capacity to defeat the massive killing of innocent Nigerians by the Fulani herdsmen. I will say yes, the only person who will be able to deliver this message is the listening governor of Benue State, our own governor, who feels what we feel. The Fulani killings is not only limited to the Agatu local government area of Benue State.
Governor Tom promises to pass their message across to the president.
I want to assure you that your message will be communicated to Mr. President.
These 2 children were abandoned during the crisis. They were rescued by good-spirited Fulani herdsmen and brought to the government house.
On Saturday, so my boys went to the bush for grazing. They called me on phone that they saw one man with 2 children. So the father and I ran and left them. So they hand over to they now rescue the children. I said, let's just prepare with them, let them carry them back to us so that we know what to do with them, so that we handle it to the military.
The governor is worried with the way his people are being massacred and is planning to work with the federal government to fix the situation.
We look forward that the state government and the federal government will work together to establish ranches so that all the herdsmen will go and ranch their cattle. And where there is no provision, they should leave us alone. And there is no point the normal herdsmen, the Fulani people who are with us, inviting others to come from neighboring countries. We have no land for them to come and take over and graze.
With this planned solution, hopefully, the herdsmen will no more have reasons to infiltrate the farmlands of farmers.
Well, earlier we told you about the situation in Uganda, the political crisis there over President Yoweri Museveni's 5th term in office. 22 people killed in the past few days over rival candidates clashing over the elections. A friend of ours in Uganda's Kampala, the capital city, Joshua Poro, was speaking to us earlier about the situation there. Joshua joins us again. Joshua, thank you for joining us again on Network Africa. Hope this time we'll keep you. Let's hope that the network does cooperate with us. So tell us about the situation. If there have been more clashes since the last time we spoke about this, about the situation in Uganda, have the clashes died down or are they still continuing?
Well, the clashes that have been taking place or happening in Uganda have not been in every part of the country. They have been very, very exclusively in particular parts of the country. For example, in western Uganda, in a district called Kasese, where different members of the public were fighting against the election results, 4 members of the public have been killed. Now, this happened within the course of last week, and just today, as I'm speaking to you now, 2 people were again shot by the police, and these are border riders. In Nigeria, you call them Okada. These are Okada riders, and 2 of them were shot by the police. These are unarmed civilians who were shot by the police. The same thing happened last week, where 2 men were holding sticks. Now, how can someone holding a stick really fight somebody who has a gun? And these are about 2 men with 7 police officers and 2 army officers. So I think the clashes are now with just between members of the public, a few sectors of members of the public, and members of the population. Now, during the campaign period, the Secretary General of the current ruling government, who's called Dustin Kasule Lumumba, warned members of the public and said, do not send your children to the streets. The government will shoot and kill them. And this is what is happening. Back then we had a slogan, help the police to help you. But now Ugandans are saying the slogan has changed, and it is help the police to kill you. Now that is not a good sign.
And it really is very saddening, Joshua. I'm afraid that's the month we will take on this. Thank you for joining us and bringing us up to speed. We do hope things do calm down in Uganda, and that the political parties are able to sit down, eventually let the courts decide on the petitions against President Yoweri Museveni. Thanks for joining us. Now, for our question of the day, how do you think the Nigerian president should address the Giwa 640 massacre? Tell us your thoughts. The addresses to reach us on are right on your screen. That's Network Africa today. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani.